Good afternoon friends, welcome to my channel. Today we will prepare Pancho cake. This cake is very famous. Let's start by making chocolate sponge cake. For it we need 200 grams of flour, 40 grams of cocoa powder, 10 grams of baking powder, 200 grams of sugar, 120 milliliters of milk, 80 grams of odorless vegetable oil and 6 eggs. Mix the dry products together, flour, cocoa, and baking powder. They must be sifted in order to saturate the flour with air, and cocoa powder is prone to forming lumps. Therefore, they need to be broken and sifted. I have prepared different cakes, but my son has this favorite cake. Just for his birthday, I prepared his favorite cake. Break the eggs into a mixing bowl, add a pinch of salt to balance the taste, sugar and beat until very thick and light. This is how you need to beat the eggs and sugar. The mark from the whisk should not spread over the surface for a very long time. This is very important, the eggs need to be beaten very well. In 2 additions, add dry ingredients to the beaten eggs and mix thoroughly with gentle movements from bottom to top. Then sift the second part of the dry products and mix again. When the mass has become homogeneous, all the lumps have been mixed, pour in the milk, preferably so that the milk is at room temperature. And mix carefully. When the mass has become homogeneous, take 2 to 3 tablespoons of the mass and mix in a separate bowl with vegetable oil until smooth. Then we return it all back to the biscuit dough. And mix carefully with a spatula. At this stage, the dough should not be kneaded for too long so that the eggs do not lose their fluffiness due to the addition of fat and vegetable oil. Once everything has come together, there is no need to stir anymore. This is the dough you get. Next, cover the baking sheet with paper and pour the dough onto the baking sheet. Distribute in an even layer and bake in a preheated oven at 175 degrees, top-bottom mode without convection for 17 to 20 minutes. We check readiness with a toothpick inserted into the middle. It should come out dry and clean. The finished biscuit will be a little springy to the touch. Leave it on the baking sheet for 5 minutes, then remove it from the baking sheet and let it cool completely on a wire rack. While the biscuit is cooling, prepare the sour cream. We will need 300 grams of sour cream with a fat content of 20% and 400 grams of cream with a fat content of 33 to 35%, as well as 135 grams of powdered sugar. Beat cold cream with powdered sugar until soft peaks form, then add cold sour cream. We no longer use a mixer so as not to overwhip the cream, the mass does not become grains. Using a spatula, stir gently until smooth. As a result, we get a very delicate, delicious sour cream. We will assemble our cake in reverse. To do this, let's take a bowl, or maybe a glass one. My bowl size is 23 centimeters, but you can take a smaller one, 20 to 22 centimeters. Cover it with film. We work with completely cooled biscuit. After baking, remove the paper. And we select a plate of the appropriate size to cut out a cake layer from the finished sponge cake, which will serve as the basis for our cake. We will place this cake layer on the very top. Cool it on a wire rack and cut out a round base. We cut the entire remaining sponge cake into small cubes. The sponge cake turns out great, it is very tender, very fragrant, not dry.
Now we can start assembling the cake.
It is necessary to set aside part of the cream, 200 grams, to level and cover the cake. We cover the bottom a little with cream. Then we take each piece of biscuit and dip it in the cream and put it in our cup. This process is not complicated and very exciting, and therefore you can call the children for help. I think they will be very interested. For the filling we will need peaches. I took canned ones, but you can use canned or fresh pineapple and walnuts instead. I used 200 grams of peaches and 50 grams of finely chopped nuts, pre-fried. Then lay out the next layer of biscuit cubes, press with a spoon and thus alternate the biscuit and filling. We do this until the biscuit is finished. I soaked the sponge cake with peach syrup to make it juicy. Then we place our round sponge cake on top. When our cake turns over, it will be the base of our cake. Press down well so that all the voids disappear. Cover with film and put in the refrigerator for 4 to 6 hours or overnight. When the cake has cooled, take it out of the refrigerator and carefully turn it over. Carefully lift the bowl and remove the film. This is the cake preparation we got. Next, we level the cake with the reserved cream. Decorate the cake with chocolate ganache on top. For it, I take 30 grams of chocolate and 30 grams of cream, pour hot cream over the chocolate, melt everything, put it in a small pastry bag and apply ganache with such chaotic movements. Next we clean the substrate. This is the cake I ended up with. He went with us to celebrate my son's birthday.